Hey folks, it's Akitsu, and welcome to The Void Beyond the Sky, Episode 3. Going to be building the Icarus II from Sunshine, the 2007 Danny Boyle movie, which is primarily about sending a ship to deliver a payload to restart the sun. Now, since it's a solar ship, most of their power comes from the giant solar sail that's in front of the thing. So I said, that's a perfect idea for doing an ion ship. If you're going to do an ion ship, you really want to have that power coming in from solar. So I basically did this redesign of my old design from scratch, trying to cut down on the weight, which I kind of do, but at the same time, I'm kind of insane when it comes to building these things. I really don't care. You know, I could make something tiny that would fly and be really, really energy efficient, but what's the fun of that? So here I am, I'm putting the I-beams out, attaching all the engines. I'm going to put quite a few on here. Each one of the engines has its own little xenon canister. I really overestimated the amount of xenon you need for one of these. I mean, you really could cut down the weight a lot just by taking out a lot of the xenon. Now, as you can see from my space umbrella here, I'm not really being very careful about how I design this either. It's just whatever whim comes to me. I knew I wanted the solar panels to be able to cover a large area, so here I am, I'm cramming all the weird panels in first. Then I'm going to actually build out where I know the safe zones are, where the panels won't intersect, so here I am attaching tiny solar panels. Now, those little guys may not take up much room, they may not generate much power, but it is nice to have a backup system, and that's pretty much what those are. You'll forgive me if my voice is a little gravelly. I've been under the weather lately. It's early in the morning, and the coffee has not kicked in yet, but I figure if I'm going to get this done, I have to do the narration so I can send this through processing and get it all put up. There is going to be another episode after this, which should be up fairly soon, where I do the Whizzing Arrow from Oban Star Racers. That is a project that's a labor of love. It's not anywhere near completion yet. But you know how it goes. You know, you try something out, it doesn't quite work, doesn't fly, but oh well. It's fun anyway. In the long run, it'll be a good thing. So, here we are, first test launch. I did have a longer build. Unfortunately, there was a problem with the recording software. It didn't quite work out right, so I missed out on a couple of test launches. This is the first real launch where I actually did get any kind of result, so you didn't miss out on much. Basically just me building the bottom stages, which, as you can see here, are nowhere near what they should be. But it's still fun, and I love the design, the way the beams are going crazy here. Obviously, I need to sit there and redo that and get everything shored up. But you will notice that was my first game crash, and it was mainly because I hit the solar panels to extend them, which put out way too much debris for the game to handle. So here we are, and I got this brilliant idea, I don't know why, that maybe if I had engines blasting on those tentacles, it would even out the distribution of the, I don't know. It was just a really bad idea. And you're going to see in a minute just how bad it is. And here I am, I'm adding all my extra power to try and get this to go someplace besides 50 feet off the ground. But here we go, and you'll see it's kind of disturbing. Yeah, those engines are way too powerful for where I put them, and the fact that I put them off center, that's not good either. So let me try repositioning them, because that'll really work. I did add some more structural support, so it does kind of help out a little bit. The fact that these are so heavy is the problem. Here I am desperately trying to shut them all down. That was a bad idea, all around. But as you can see, no cheats. I haven't cheated yet. This is all done 100% in-game, in-engine, and yes, it did take hours and hours and hours to actually get this to the point where it would fly. Now, as you can see here, some launches really didn't go well at all. But I mean, I was desperately trying not to get rid of the wobble, because I actually enjoyed the fact that the ship itself was fragile. Of course, as you can see, that becomes a problem. So here I am, attaching more connectors, basically trying to get everything lined up. Now, at this point, you know, obviously I'm not caring about weight, so I'm just attaching any kind of structural support I can think of. And here we go with prototype 8. You'll notice there's a lot less wobble. Hey, a new record. We're off almost 1,000 feet. Meters. Feet. Same thing. As you can see, things are going kind of well, but I've got this weird fuel discrepancy. Now, I do have asparagus staging on the inside, but on the outside, everything was just connected together, and it should all go at the same rate, which technically I shouldn't have had fuel lines anywhere if I wanted to do that anyway, but I was being kind of silly and just enjoying it. And here we are, flying through the air with the greatest of ease, the moon above us. It's actually kind of pretty. I feel bad for all the people that are about to be squashed by random debris everywhere, but you know, that's part of the appeal of the game. So finally, it actually launched without a lot of structural problems, except for here. The linkages here, for some reason, didn't want to play nice. So here I am, adding more I-beams and shoring it up. Which, Not the best way to do things, not the way to save on weight, but I don't care because at this point, I just want to see this thing launch. And to be honest, I know it's a failed design, I know it's a bad design, I just want to know if it's going to be able to fly in space. So I do apologize, but after this, I'm probably gonna go and cheat. Because I've gone through at least 20 launches trying to get this actually to fly. I finally get it to fly, but then it's just not a good design. And what do we do with not good designs? We turn off the gravity and we put on infinite and just go for it. But as you can see here, even when I do have it all nice and everything lined up, it doesn't quite work. It's gotten to be too big for its britches, too many parts. But I ain't spectacular at crashing. Spectacular at crashing. So yeah, here we go with a normal launch. And this is about where I lose my sanity and finally decide, hey, you know what? Cheat. Yeah, never deploy your solar in atmosphere, ever. Unless, of course, you really don't care. I'm very lucky the game didn't crash at this point because that's just so much debris I kicked up. Okay, time to cheat. Unbreakable joints, no crash damage, and gravity is hacked. So, here we are. And of course, I forgot one tip: when you're zooming in, do not touch any of your engines, you will blow them off, as I'm about to find out right here. There goes my engines, which in any other kind of situation it would be a problem, but because there's no gravity, it really doesn't matter that much. Here I am, getting rid of all the excess baggage. Like I said, it doesn't really matter that much when you have gravity turned off. Now, as you can see here, I've got my stage separators all set up, and they've all disconnected, and because of the fact that I am going so slowly, they are literally falling away. As you can see, I had all these I-beams connected to that to give it some structural stability, and that kind of works. At the same time, if I was doing a normal launch, those I-beams are way too close together, and they would probably knock into something and blow something up unless I was throttled up immediately after. But in this situation it worked out for the best. Here I am switching on the nuclear rockets, because as you can see my staging is now screwed up thanks to the little engine problem I had before. Here I am trying to get my orbit, which, like I said, no gravity, so it's not nearly as hard as it should be. But herein lies the problem. It's still difficult with my setup the way it is, so I know this is a failed design already. If I was under regular gravity, I would crash down even if I already had this close to an orbit, just because the fact the nuclear engines are nowhere near powerful enough. And now for the fun part. I have this problem here with my staging because of the fact I blew up my engines. When you kill off a part, or you destroy something, or you do your staging wrong, you end up with these empty stages, which can be problematic unless you have engines above the staging. If you do have engines above the staging, like I have here, all you have to do is put at least one engine into each stage to get rid of that stage. Well, I guess you could do it with anything as long as it's a stage, but thankfully with me, I just have a ton of ion drives, so not really a big deal. Okay, so here we are, trying to extend out my orbit, which technically, if this wasn't such a heavy ship, probably would work. But I only have 4 nuclear drives, and they're not going to be able to do the job of pushing this giant behemoth very far. And of course, it's the most unmaneuverable thing in the world, which is why I'm not really pointing the way I want to go in the first place. So here I am, trying to course correct back to where I want it to be, and the RCS is taking forever, and ever, and ever. But here we go, we're pretty close, and boom, SAS on. So here we are, I'm trying to speed up time just because it's taking forever, but unfortunately this is such a big ship with so many parts that there is no speeding up time at all. Now, as you can see, here I am extending out my orbit with the nuclear engines, which they're doing an okay job, I suppose. I mean, they are very efficient, but at the same time, I'm not here to test out the nuclear engines. I know they're okay. I want to get to my Ion chip. So once I get this extended out a bit more, then I'll be switching over directly to the Ion drive, which, admittedly, there are a ton of engines on this, but because of all the solar, I do not get any energy loss. I don't even need those batteries, I just put them on there for fun. I figured if I was caught completely without power, I would need something just in case I needed to go ahead and open up the solar sails, which requires power. All these other little things need power, lights need power. I really should have put the energy generators on instead, because they're a lot more energy efficient and they're a lot more beneficial because they actually generate power. So, had I put that on and had a few batteries, then it would have been a lot better because they could have charged the batteries, which in turn I could have used to power other things. So, it's just being silly on my part, not thinking things through. Like I said, this wasn't the most well thought out of designs. It's basically just, hey, I'd like to try and build something from that movie. Let's go ahead and do it. So here we are. The solar sails are all coming out. I have them all slaved to one button, of course. But unfortunately, it's the dead of night, no sun, no nothing to see. And it's a really nice design when you can actually see what's going on. But there's no power. So I can't fire my solar sail until after. Or I should say I shouldn't fire my ion drive until after. So here we are playing the waiting game. Here we are, finally moving at 50x. And soon we shall be out in the sun. And of course, I tried desperately to time it so I could actually see when the sunlight was going to come flying over the entire thing. So here we are. Got our sunlight, we've got all our solar out. It's looking decent. Shut down all the nuclear engines, everything's throttled up. No, well, it's throttled up now. Now, as you can see, I have entirely too much xenon gas. Now, as you can see from the apoapsis, we're actually accelerating quite nicely. I mean, considering the amount of weight that's on this ship, the amount of ion, it's not that bad. Unfortunately, as you can see, some of these ions aren't exactly firing for some reason. So here I have to go in and turn them all on manually, despite the fact that I set up all the staging thinking that it would work out right. Just goes to show sometimes the best laid plans just don't work out. But what can you do? I really should have thrown them all on a hotkey, which I could have done when I was building it because they're all linked together through symmetry. But like I said, this was not a well thought out design. And as I'm throwing these different engines on, it's actually tilting the craft. So I have to kind of hurry it up and try and get everything balanced. There we go. And accelerating quite nicely, actually. I mean, if you look at those numbers, they're definitely going much faster. And it's still doing good on liquid fuel, still good on monopropellant. Electric charge isn't going down at all. But I mean, this is one of those really slow burn kind of ships. So, I actually, at some point during this wonderful little recording, I actually paused the recording, went to sleep for 5 hours, while this continued on its little journey. And it finally does break out, but it takes 5 hours of actual gameplay. So, I mean, as you can see, it's a worthwhile design. If you were flying it in the real world and not in Kerbal Space Program, you could actually do a ship like this that would eventually go somewhere because of the ion drive not taking a lot of power when you have the solar sails attached. But I mean, you wouldn't want to play this way. This would take you too long to do anything, really. So, obviously, I'm abandoning this idea of a giant ion ship for now, unless I can redesign it so it's even lighter, or that, ion drives will somehow be able to be kept on while you're away doing other things. It's just not worth it to me. Now, I apologize that this episode has been kind of boring and dull. I do understand that you're coming here to be entertained, and there's nothing less entertaining than just watching an orbit continue to grow. But I was doing this mainly just to show that it is accelerating, the velocity is getting better, the apoapsis is going out further, and here I am 5 hours later. Yeah, it's not really that impressive when you look at it after 5 hours, but hey, I finally have some acceleration. And here we are. The entire thing is shifting because of the orbit. And now all my panels are facing forward instead of back for once. There we go. Now, of course, with something with this many parts, I actually did consider doing Whack-A-Kerbal with it. But, unfortunately, I have a Logitech mouse, which does not like the idea of doing the mouse button for some reason. So I'm going to have to look into that and see why my mouse button will not fire the Whack-A-Kerbal mode. So, at least I did get it up there, and at least I did get to see this goofy design fly for even a brief amount of time. I really would have liked to have Whack-A-Kerbal it, but then again, with this many parts, it probably would break the game and crash it, which isn't what I'm after anyway, so. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode. As I said, I tried my best not to cheat on it, but unfortunately, just to try and test out the concept, I did have to cheat to get this into space. But now at least I know that it is a dead design. There is no point to continuing on this kind of design mentality. Bigger is not always better. It's more entertaining to watch it crash, but it's not necessarily the best thing for trying space travel. So, as you can see, still trying whack a Kerbal, still not going to get it. But, you know what? Not meant to be, not meant to be. I'm going to revert this flight so it never happened. And of course I'm going to mothball this entire design, so next time we'll be doing a much better ship. Hopefully. If not, at least it'll be an entertaining ship. And as you can see, maybe it's not the best idea to have this many parts when you want to go EVA. But hey, you know what? Have fun with it. I'm going to leave this little guy out here to watch his ship fly away right before I revert everything. And this is the end of the episode. Next time, hopefully the Whizzing Arrow II from Oban Star Racers, if I can actually get it to fly. But then again, like I said, it's kind of fun just to watch it fail. And right now, it's nowhere near done. So I might actually start building another ship on top of that. But that should be out in a day or two, so not much of a wait for that. Anyway, this is Akitsu. This has been The Void Beyond the Sky, Episode 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it got a little boring at the end there with all the orbital mechanics and stuff like that, but, you know, I really do need those numbers in order to see how well this is doing. And unfortunately, Ion chips just really don't have the kind of oomph I need for doing anything, so I'm probably abandoning Ion technology for now. I'll see you all next time, and thank you for coming out.